But the Leisure and Cultural Services Department have been organising a whole series of percussion concerts in Hong Kong, and the latest to arrive are a group called NEXUS, described by the Toronto Star as the Rolling Stones of the new music. And we're going to be talking to all five members of NEXUS in a moment. First of all, let's hear the music so we know what we're talking about. This is called Xylophonia. That's Xylophonia from NEXUS, and all five members of NEXUS have joined us now in the studio. Robin Engelman, Bill Cahn, John Wah, Russell Hartenberger, and Bob Becker. Good morning to all of you. Welcome to Hong Kong. Have you been here before? Have you been out this way before?
94 was the last time we were here.
So 94?
Yeah, 1994.
Right, so some time. You've been together since 71, and you wanted me to explain that when I quoted that bit from the Toronto Star saying you were the Rolling Stones of the new music. You're all younger than the Rolling Stones, but that was primarily a reference to your sticking together for so long, I guess.
That's right, and we're richer than they are.
Right, okay. A lot of money in percussion music.
Yeah, oh yeah.
All right. Who was playing the xylophone on that recording?
That was Bob.
That was Bob.
No, it was Bill Cahn.
That was Bill.
That was Bill.
Playing xylophone and also playing the virtuoso chorus on the duck call.
Right, we'll get to the duck call in a moment. But do you swap around? Do you all sort of play all kinds of instruments? Or,
Well, actually, the
how does it work?
xylophonist in our group is Bob Becker, who's internationally renowned in the percussion world, and usually recognized as being the finest xylophonist in the world.
Right, because most percussionists are pretty versatile, aren't they? They can turn the hand to banging anything.
That's right. Yeah.
Yeah. So
Oh, banging. Yeah, let's be careful, you. You're talking to some real pros here.
do you? I mean, but do some of you specialize? And if so, how do you do it? What do you specialize in? Do some of you do more tuned percussion than other people, for example?
Yeah, it's natural to do that
Mhm.
in percussion. Some people get an earlier start with the instruments or find that they're attracted to them, so they maybe spend more time with that. I started out with the marimba. That was my first instrument, so and I was a little kid when I started, so that was naturally an instrument that was sort of my specialty.
Okay, not a natural instrument perhaps for a child to play, not the violin or the piano or something like that. Not
That
many kids pick
depends,
up a marimba.
You know, where I grew up in Pennsylvania, and there are pockets throughout North America of interest in that instrument, usually based on the fact that there are or were some fine teachers based in certain parts of the country. And there was also, in the 1930s and 40s, a movement for large marimba orchestras that led to a certain popularity of that instrument, and also the fact that xylophones and xylophone players were very popular in the decades before the 30s, mainly because the instrument was so popular as a recording instrument. It sounded very good on the early acoustic recording technology. So where I grew up, for example, it was not uncommon for a marimba to be in a family's living room, and might be only played by an amateur in the family, but they were quite common. And so I found my instrument was given to me by my uncle, who owned a furniture store, and it was just fortuitous. I
Right.
began to play it.
Right. Okay. I mean,
Someone told me that there were more xylophones and marimbas in homes in North America at one time than pianos.
In certain parts of the states, that's true.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure.
Right. Okay. Well, just coming back to longevity, you said you got together. You got together with 71, was it?
That's right.
Yes.
Okay. How come you've stuck together for 30 years?
There's nothing else better
the
to
money.
do. It's the money. Yeah.
And the restaurants as well.
And Mick keeps telling us not to quit.
Do you not fall? Have you never fallen out?
We've had disagreements, of course.
What are you talking about?
Yeah.
The mallets flying across
But
the...
the thing that unites us always and makes all of the disagreements seem relatively unimportant are the performances. Something magic happens when we're on stage performing our music together. And that's remained constant for 30 years, and it's not something that we necessarily have any control over, but it's something that we all appreciate very much.
Yeah. Were you all like Bob? Did you all start with the percussion background, or did you start in different ways?
I was my first music was choir. I was a singer.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And the others?
I guess I started in a church choir, but my first instrument was percussion.
Right. Was it sort of part of the same idea, the same tradition, I suppose?
I think my tradition was more marching band. I grew
Right.
up in Oklahoma, and it's a big football country, and they have halftime shows with lots of band action.
So what were you playing then?
So snare drum mostly, yeah.
Right. And are you sort of mostly drums?
No, I
From
think
what
all of
I-
us plays everything.
Mhm.
But I think our specialties change through the years as we are attracted to different instruments. That's one of the advantages of the world of percussion, is there's so much to choose from.
And it must be great touring because you can find percussion instruments all over the world, of course.
Yeah,
All
we
kinds of
do
different
that too.
things. Yeah.
Scour the shops and antique stores.
Any favourites that you found?
Yeah, I found I never know what to call it, but it's a 17-stringed Chinese instrument, Confucian in history, called a shang or a chang or a ching. And every place I go, somebody in Singapore just the other day called it something completely different. But I found that here in Hong Kong in 1970. I think, John, if that's not, we were here. 1970, we went took a ferry over to another part of Hong Kong. And in a very tiny little shop, I found this instrument, and I've kept it since. I play it on almost every concert since then, since 1970.
But it's not a percussion instrument.
Well, no more than a harp.
Right.
It's plucked, and it can be played with sticks. You can
Right, you can.
lightly. I mean, you don't want to hit it too hard.
Yeah, yeah.
But I usually pluck it, strum it, and bow it
Oh, you bow it
with
as
a
well.
violin, a very small violin bow. Yeah.
Right,
Mhm.
interesting. And the duck call as well.
Yes.
We heard there. Bill, this is your
This is my
this
baby.
is your beginning in
This
music.
is my baby. The thing I'd like to say about the duck call is that whereas with, let's say, a grand piano, you have 88 keys to make music with, and on most of the string instruments, you've got multiple strings, and on the winds, you have these tubes with all of the keys that can give you all of the various pitches of the scale. With a duck call, you have one vibrating reed. So the challenges are much greater to make music with a duck call, and virtuosity means a lot more on a duck call than it does on all of these other instruments, which have all of these accoutrements to help you to play music.
No pedals
That's the
on
first
duck
thing
call.
I wanted to
Okay.
say. The second thing I wanted to say is that in order to make music with a duck call, you have to enter into the mind of a bird. You have to think like the brain of a bird.
Duckness.
Duckness.
Bird brain, is that what you're saying?
Do you collect these? Do you scour the world for duck calls?
Indeed. One of the things that's really fascinating about traveling with percussion and with interest in percussion is that wherever we go, there are instruments, and people are interested in making sounds. And bird calls are found worldwide. You can go into instrument shops in Germany and see the finest wind instruments in the world alongside of bird calls that are created by German instrument makers. You can do the same thing in the UK. You can go into the marketplace anywhere in the world, especially in Southeast Asia, and for a few pennies buy bamboo bird callers that make beautiful sounds. So that's part of the fun of being a percussionist and traveling.
Are you serious?
Bill's very
Well, I
serious.
was.
No, he's absolutely serious. The only dispute I would have with that is that I don't think you could find those calls in Inuktitut.
In 1984, when we toured China, we did a piece of Bill's that was the hit of our tour. It was called Birds, and there were hundreds of bird calls that we played and orchestrated with other percussion instruments. And he's very serious about bird calls.
Right, right. It's kind of like Messiaen, but
He's a
Not.
voice. He's a voice in the wilderness.
Actually, very much like Messiaen, I think. But the,
His
the
publishers
difference
don't.
being that Messiaen created music for all of these instruments with all of these accoutrements to help you to make the pitches. And Nexus is doing the same thing with instruments that essentially make one sound, so you have to be very creative in how you play those singular sounds.
right. I haven't mentioned yet the fact that you're playing tomorrow night at ShaTin Town Hall. I have to say that again. They're playing tomorrow night at ShaTin Town Hall. We just heard a little bit of xylophonia there. But what's your repertoire like? What's the program like? Is it fairly light-hearted
Some
stuff
African
like that?
drumming.
Mhm. Yeah.
There's a piece by John Wire, piece by Bob Becker.
Uh-huh.
So we're doing two of our compositions in the group. We're doing an improvisation. Bill might play a bird call.
I challenge you to find any in Hong Kong, though.
In 5 minutes
there.
probably.
How much?
Really?
How much you want to bet?
Yeah.
The
Doug?
Chinese relationship with birds is amazing.
Unbelievable. Yeah.
You?
Yeah.
The repertoire for Erhu is just loaded with bird direct quotes from birds.
Right, really?
Oh, very
Absolutely.
strong.
And,
Very strong,
And
yeah.
showing us.
Yeah.
Well, we'll look out for that. We'll slip that into the improvisation if you can find a bird call in
You've
Hong
never,
Kong.
you've never heard the black-beaked Hong Kong thrush? You've never heard that? Wow, I'm surprised. Well, I can understand, given the amount of time you spend in this room.
They don't get to see daylight very much.
Yeah.
Well, we'll look out for that. And,
Okay.
and
There will
other
also
treats.
be music on a program of Steve Reich, an American composer who has made some, I think, fantastic contributions to the world of contemporary music in his creativity. And we're also performing some of the ragtime music, which is very technically difficult, but it's also very accessible to audiences. A lot of audiences recognize the pieces that the arrangements are made from, and it's a very good way for people to enter the world of percussion with music that they have some familiarity.
Right. there we go.
Bring your kids.
Right.
Bring your kids.
fun, minimalism, and ducks. Nexus. ShaTin Town Hall playing tomorrow evening. Thank you all very much indeed. Enjoy
Thank
your
you.
time here.
Thank you.
Fun, minimalism,